Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Divers Ready. My name's James. As always, so great to see all of your smiling faces out there. And welcome to this, your subscriber update for Divers Ready for October 2021. Yes, I know, it's been too long, but I have a mug of tea. I have no students here at the moment. So there's just enough time for me to give you a quick what's been going on behind the scenes at Divers Ready and answer all of your questions. Thank you to everyone over the last few months who have submitted your questions via YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, using the hashtag AskDiversReady. I will do my best to get through as many as possible. Cheers, guys. It's great to see you. I hope you're all well. Lovely. Summer went by like a flash. We got a ton of diving done. Let's start with the Sardine run, which, by the way, was epic. Absolutely epic. Without doubt, everything I hoped it was going to be and so much more. I got so many firsts ticked off. First time seeing a brideswhale in the water. First time seeing a humpback underwater. First time seeing an orca underwater. The list goes on and on. We captured so much amazing footage, which right now is sitting in my editing suite right here on my desk. I can't wait to share what's going to be the finished film with all of you. But you got to understand, it's an absolute monster. It takes way, way longer to edit a project like that than it does the daily or the weekly videos that we churn out. So you're going to have to be patient. It's something that when I get an hour or 2 hours here, I jump on my computer, I do a little bit, I do a little bit, I do a little bit. Tentatively, I want to say Thanksgiving, mid to end of November, maybe. What we're going to do is we'll throw it up on YouTube, do an actual premiere. I'll host it live and have a bit of an online viewing party for Run Sardine Run. But it's a monster, and I thank all of you for your patience. And I know you're out there like, go on, man, you went to South Africa for a month. We haven't seen anything yet. It's, thank you for your interest. It is going to happen. I especially want to thank, of course, everyone who came out to South Africa to join us for this adventure. I know from your feedback that you all had an epic time, and it was fantastic having you all with us. As well as that, I should also probably tell you, watch out, spoiler alert, we're going back next year. Yeah. Sardine Run 2022 is a thing that will happen. It is so highly addictive, and the team down there in South Africa did such an amazing job that we want to go back for more. July 2022, you heard it here first. Shh. Official trip announcement will be coming through the channel next month. Stay tuned for that. I also want to say a great big thank you to all of my students who kept me incredibly busy all summer long. If I've missed weeks of putting videos out, it's because my students always take priority. We've had a fantastic group of individuals come and stay with us, train with us here in South Florida, and a good variety too. Recreational courses, technical diver courses, which keeps it fresh for me and keeps me on my toes, which I really appreciate. I really do appreciate each and every student I get to be a privilege, because there are a lot of fantastic instructors out there. So if you choose me for your training, thank you, and I want to repay that trust by crafting quality diving experiences. That's what we offer here in South Florida. It's very important to me. So just know that if I miss the occasional video on the channel, YouTube is always going to be second to my students having my undivided attention. If I can do both, great. If not, students first, YouTube second. That's just how we roll. So, we have also relaunched our Dive Right sponsored video series for 2021. This time, we are looking at ocean conditions for divers. So thank you to everyone who has seen part 1, part 2, commented, all that good stuff. Really means a lot to me. We get a lot of divers here in South Florida who are new to ocean diving. They've done inland diving or dived in other parts of the world and haven't got a great deal of experience in the open ocean. And it is definitely something you need to be prepared for. So Dive Right were kind enough to partner with us to make that series of videos explaining how the different variables affect us as divers when diving in the ocean and what we should do about it. It's a limited series. I'll put a link to the description of the video up there, the whole playlist, so you can check it out. And again, please head over to Dive Right and thank them for sponsoring our content, because we really have appreciated having them on board as a partner on this channel. In addition to the Ocean Conditions series, Dive Right also sent me a great big box of new dive products to test and review, which I am in the process of doing right now. I'm diving it, I'm testing it, I'm collecting my thoughts and so on. So look for the review videos coming your way. But as I've said before, I struggle to get dive gear to test and review, and I get requests for dive review videos all the time. I would love to test. I would do a whole channel. I would do a separate thing. We'd have divers ready and keep doing what we're doing here, and I would do divers ready reviews, separate channel, and just have dive product reviews. I'd do that full time for you guys. Well, on top of my students. I would make that a thing, but I can't get the products, and I can't afford to buy every piece of dive equipment that you guys want me to review. I get requests all the time for Hog and Edge and Atmos and Scuba Pro and great. If you can get it sent to me, I will dive it, I will review it. But it seems almost like dive manufacturers don't want product reviews out there, which is really weird considering the fact that 9 out of 10, almost 9 out of 10, 89% of consumers worldwide surveyed by Trustpilot in 2020 said that they make an effort to watch review videos before buying a product. But luckily for us, Dive Right is a bit more forward thinking than most dive manufacturers. So there you go. I get a big box of Dive Right gear. You're going to see a lot of Dive Right reviewed stuff. It's going to go through the same process as any other piece of kit that I review. And those will be coming down the tube in in the coming months, basically. I should also say as well, I'll put a link. I want to kind of conduct my own study on this as well. So I will put a poll on YouTube. I'll put the link to it in the description of this video below. Do you check out review videos before deciding on a dive gear purchase? Simple yes or no. There you go. Let me know in the poll in the description of this video below. Whoa, that's better. Yeah. Okay, just quickly, before we get into the Q&A, I want to address a whole host of comments that we received on our GoPro Hero 10 review. If you haven't seen it, link up there. It turns out that other reviewers that make videos on YouTube and other people using the GoPro series of cameras have had an overheating issue with the GoPro when it's in the dive housing, because GoPro is cooled by air. If you put it in a sealed plastic box and run it for a long time, you're going to have overheating. That's a thing. And they've asked me if I've had the same experience. No, I didn't, not at all. Digging deeper into the topic, I think it's because I only shoot short clips, 5-7 seconds, and then I stop the recording. And then I swim over here and I shoot this piece of coral, and then I shoot this fish, and then, oh, there's a shark, shoot that. Or the turtle eating the jellyfish. I mean, that was quite a long clip for me, but actually it was quite short. It was just taken this long and then made into slow-mo, which made it longer. So I'm not burning or recording one long take of a whole dive. I do short little clips, and I think that helps the processor not work as hard and keep the GoPro cooler. It's unusual for me, or it's not something that I would enjoy, to watch one single shot of a recording for 20+ minutes. I don't want to watch that one long continuous shot unless it's the Sam Mendes movie 1917, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, is brilliant. So no, I haven't experienced any problems with the overheating. I am aware that it is a problem other people have had, but I think the secret to that is just keeping your recording time short and taking short clips that you can actually stitch together. Right, I hope that answers as many comments as possible on that topic. Let's dive into the Q&A, which I actually have here on my computer. First up, we have Danny Singletary. Thanks for the info, James. Good video. Not sure which video this was on, by the way. Question on the current that pushed you down. So it was on the currents video. How should a diver respond to that if it does occur? So Danny's referring to the downdraft that I was caught in Indonesia, which I mentioned in one of my videos is the closest I've ever come to dying. Yeah, that was truly the scariest moment for me I've ever had underwater, just following my Dive Master course in Indonesia, where we got swept over the edge of the reef line and caught in a down current because the tide was pushing against the reef, but the current was running the opposite direction. It's where two oceans meet, and it was an absolute nightmare. So we got swept over, we got pushed down, and here's what we did. We inflated our BCDs, that didn't seem to do anything. We ditched our weights, that didn't seem to do anything. And luckily we weren't in open water, we were on a wall. So we literally grabbed onto the wall for dear life like Alex Honnold and scurried up it. And we were able to crawl sideways across the top of the underwater ledge, if you will, until we got into shallower water, the current lessened, and we were able to pop to the surface and escape to the beach, basically. Truly a scary moment. Everyone made it out okay, but not something I would ever wish to repeat. But yeah, positive buoyancy, get to the surface. They can fix the bends, they can't fix drowning. That's basically how bad it was. So there you go, Danny. Hope that answers the question for you. Next up, we have John Reed. John Reed asks, James, thanks for the info about aborting dives. This is from our Should You Abort a Dive video. My daughter and I had to make 3 attempts in a row to dive our local spot recently. 2 dives cancelled, almost the 3rd. First weather forecast was wrong. Could you share some more of your common dive hand signals, stuff to add to the basics we learned in open water class? Thanks, John Reed. Yes, I could. That might even be enough for a whole separate video. But let me give you some of the less common ones that I use at a recreational level. So you know about obviously pressure check and okay and problem. We have thousands on the arm. So if we're doing PSI, 2,000, 1,000, hundreds in the air. We do numbers on one hand because we might have another hand to use a line, a reel, a torch, whatever it is. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So we can come up with 1, 0, 1, 2, 1, 7, and so on. And we can communicate any number we could possibly wish to communicate. For NDL, for example, I use 2 fingers and tap my computer. So I'll say my NDL is 8 minutes. Okay. What else do we have? Neutrally buoyant, that's one I use all the time with students. Kick, frog kick, bunch of those different signs. I don't know, that could really be a whole video on its own, but hopefully that gives you some food for thought that you can mix in when diving with your daughter, John. Excellent. Thanks for your question. KB asks, #AskDiversReady, how do you tell a bad, dangerous diver that they are being a bad, dangerous diver? Woo! That's a great question, KB. Thank you so much. As politely as possible. I would probably come from a place of love. I would approach them with a, hey, listen, I saw you doing this behavior in the water. Here's why it's bad. Here are some things you might want to think about in terms of considerations. Are you obligated to do it? No. If you're an instructor and you're trying to give out free advice, you're opening yourself up to a world of litigation should that diver, have an issue or you're trying to correct a behavior that isn't really correctable in their particular situation. You've got to be super careful with it. You also don't want to piss somebody off or hurt their feelings. So if they're a bad diver, I normally don't intervene. If they are dangerous, that's a different story because you could be liable if you don't act. So I normally would step in there and I'd just be like, coming to you as an open book. I just want to sort of, take the friendly approach and say, hey, listen, I noticed you doing this in the water. That's not really considered best practice because of this reason, and this reason. Here are some things you might want to think about moving forwards. That's normally how I handle it, but I also tend not to get involved. I'm focused on my students and I correct their bad behavior all the time. So there you go. KB, thank you so much for your question. Ryan Patrick, United States Marine Corps, asks, @DiversReady. No, not @DiversReady. #DiversReady. James, you packed a DIN reg set up for this trip, referring to Sardine Run, South Africa. What went into that decision, and do you recommend having a DIN set up in your collection for particular occasions? Okay, good question there. So here's what you got to understand. Apart from the Caribbean and North America, or I should say USA and Mexico, because I think Canada's predominantly DIN. Any Canadians watching, please confirm or deny. The rest of the world is pretty much set to DIN these days. Most of the rest of the world. The good news is that if you're stuck with a DIN cylinder and a yoke regulator, you can get these days DIN plugs which screw into your DIN valve on your cylinder and allow you to attach a yoke regulator. But really that's the worst of both worlds, because you're now adding more O-rings and more potential failure points. So not a massive fan of that. But there's no reason that you should run out and buy a DIN regulator if you're not using DIN cylinders on the regular basis. Hope that answers your question. I took a DIN regulator to South Africa because they have DIN tanks there, and that seemed to be the best option. Thank you. Raymond G asks, James, can you please make a video covering tricks and tips to slow your rate of breathing while diving? I think most new divers like me would greatly benefit from this. Thanks. #AskDiversReady. Thanks, Raymond G. Yes, I can make that video. Absolutely. We did, I think you commented on the video about how to calculate your breathing rate, but I haven't actually done one on tips and tricks to slow your breathing rate. So yes, that is probably a hole in our catalog. But for now, let me just tell you this. The idea, the big high-level concept of breathing while scuba diving is cycling out as much waste product as possible. So think about breathing as dumping waste product from your body, and that waste product is carbon dioxide. So, number one, the harder you work, the more CO2 you're going to have to produce. The more CO2 you produce, the more you're going to have to dump. So, already, that's tip number one. Calm down, go slowly, take it easy, and immediately your breathing will improve. The second thing is you want to try and equalize the amount of time you spend inhaling with the amount of time you want to spend exhaling. Now, at technical diver level, we talk about ideal breathing, which is breathing from the diaphragm and pulling fresh air into the lungs using the diaphragm muscles and emptying them from the top using the chest muscles. That is a habit that you can form, but for now, it's enough to say if you can get your inhale equal to your exhale, so say you breathe in for 4 seconds and out for 4 seconds, and you do that consistently, you're going to find that you never have that feeling where you've got to take hurried breaths to catch up. And at the same time, you're cycling carbon dioxide out, so you're flushing the waste product as effectively as possible. I hope that answers your question, Raymond G. Thank you so much for that one. Oh, lovely cup of tea, because I made it myself. Callum Perry asks, #AskDiversReady. I was diving in Egypt last week and really struggled to attach my yoke first stage to the tanks there without it leaking. Is there different types or sizes of yoke fittings? I almost had to over tighten the rear screw each time, which is the actual yoke nut, the yoke bolt, just to ensure it didn't leak. By the end of the trip, I was so frustrated that I'm now seriously considering converting my system to DIN just to avoid any hassle on future trips. Well, Callum, number one, convert to DIN anyway. It's better, it's safer, marginally safer, but it's still safer. And no, there aren't different types or sizes of yoke fittings. There is only one size. So if I go back to my DIN plug here, you can see that you have a screw-in threaded portion. That O-ring there is a DIN O-ring, which will sit in the back of the cylinder valve orifice, and then that provides a yoke sealing for that. So, couple of things there. If your yoke tank had a DIN insert, you need to remember not just to check the front O-ring, but also the rear O-ring. 90% of the time, if you have a leak in scuba diving, it's an O-ring somewhere. So there is no O-ring on the orifice of the yoke first stage on a regulator. The O-ring is on the cylinder, so it's probably that one, or that sneaky one on the backside of the DIN insert if the cylinder had a DIN insert. So those would be my tips there, but by all means change to DIN. You'll be a lot happier. Thanks for your question, Callum. Next up we have Shuntao. #AskDiversReady. My technical diving buddy wants us to dive full face mask for all of our tech diving. What are your thoughts? I'm not convinced on the idea, though I understand why he does. In case of catastrophic failure, switching to a regular mask is no big deal. Seems like we would want long hose for all secondary regulators on all bottles for gas donation. Yeah, you're right, Chantal. It does seem like a bad idea, and it is. I can't think of one single tech diver that I know and trust that uses a full face mask, and that's because it prevents effective primary long hose donate. And I know now you can get those regulators that fit into, like the Spectrum, I think the OTS, you can just use a regular second stage that will fit through the mouthpiece, but I wouldn't trust that seal at 300 feet. No, absolutely not. Not at that kind of ambient pressure. No, just no, absolutely not. No, 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 no. No, we don't do that. So no, I don't know a single technical diver who uses a full face mask for tech. I certainly don't. And in general, let me just say, full face masks are a great tool for a specific job. And that job is when you need comms underwater, or you have crippling claustrophobia and you want the sort of wide angle view down there. You know, if you have problems with sort of having the reg and the mask and that whole enclosed feeling, they're great in either of those two situations, but they're not as effective as a regular mask and a regulator. And I can prove this to you by the fact that look at any dive boat. Look at any dive boat in the world, and how many full face masks will you see on a recreational or technical dive boat? Very, very few. Very few. If they were the way forward by now, they would have market share. So that's my opinion on that. Chantal, thank you so much for your question. I really appreciate it. Nick Jarbo, I've butchered the first name already. I'm sorry, Jarbo. I'm going to go with Jarbo, J-A-R-B-O-E. Apologies, Nick, if that's wrong. Hashtag Ask Divers Ready. Hey, James, I'm thinking about stepping to the professional side of diving and becoming a DM. I'm landlocked in Kentucky and have never dove salt water. Do you recommend getting experience in salt before pursuing DM? Nick, buddy, you are exactly the person that we're making that whole ocean conditions series about in partnership with Dive Right. So thank you for proving my point, that people like you are out there. And also, at the same time, congratulations for wanting to take the step up to professional level diving. My honest answer to your question is, it depends where you're intending to work. Absolutely, you're going to want saltwater experience if you're intending to move to the coast and work on an ocean-going vessel, because you're going to need the boat handling experience, you're going to need the boat mating experience, you're going to need to know, about weighting in salt water and currents and surge and all these kind of things that you're probably not getting with inland diving. So yes, would highly recommend. It will definitely make you more employable for coastal, areas. If you're planning to stay in Kentucky and be a dive master and only ever dive freshwater, then no, you probably don't need it. But it will definitely make you a more well-rounded diver anyway, just from an experience point of view. So I say go for it. Thanks for your question, Nick. Appreciate it. Lastly then, Antoine V, or Antoine 5. Don't know what that's supposed to be, but there we go. Thanks for the great content. What age do you think is too old to become a dive master? Assuming the person is still in good shape. I'm considering a career change. Hashtag Ask Divers Ready. You're never too old, mate. You're never too old. Go for it. Live your dreams. I am not going to hold you back. Absolutely not. As long as you've got the work ethic and you can, cope with the physical demand of being a dive master, go for it. Do it. Absolutely. I'm not the hiring manager. Go for it. Do it. I'm with you 100%, mate. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. Go for it, Antoine. All right, I think that concludes the Q&A. That got weird at the end there, right? I like it. Thank you, as always, guys, so much for watching. Please feel free to post your questions, hashtag AskDiversReady, in the comment section of this video below. And if you learned something from this video, feel free to give it the old thumbs up or share it with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you on the next one. Till next time, guys, dive safe, dive often.